Okay, let's kick things off. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something really quite powerful, I think. It's often misunderstood, though. We're talking about routines, drawing insights from a specific text we've been looking at.
That's right. And, when people hear routines, they might immediately think, oh, rigid schedules, boring,
Yeah,
inflexible.
exactly.
But the source material we're digging into today really flips that. It presents routines not as these like constraints, but actually as essential tools.
Mhm.
Tools for building a life that feels more intentional and more effective.
Right. So, our mission here in this deep dive is to really unpack the key takeaways from this text. We want to understand, based on this source, why routines matter so much,
hmm
how they actually work, sort of under the hood, and probably most importantly, what practical steps this source suggests for you listening to start weaving them into your life, maybe even starting today.
Yeah, let's jump right in then. The foundational concept, what this source says routines are. It boils down quite nicely, actually, to automated habits.
Automated habits. I like that phrase. It suggests it's not really about sheer willpower or, forcing yourself through some grueling schedule day after day.
Exactly.
It's more about getting to a point where certain good actions just happen, almost on autopilot. And the source argues this automation is key to simplifying things and boosting effectiveness.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. When your essential daily actions are automated, your brain isn't constantly getting bogged down with minor choices.
Right.
And that, of course, benefit. It reduces decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue. Okay, yeah, that's something I think many of us feel, even if we don't put that exact label on it. That end of the day feeling where choosing takeout feels like climbing a mountain.
Totally.
How does this source say routines help with that specifically?
Well, the text points out just how many sort of trivial choices we face constantly.
Yeah.
What to wear, what small task to tackle next, maybe what to have for a standard lunch.
Yeah.
Each little choice, the source suggests, chips away at your mental energy. So by making those routine, like maybe you always lay out your clothes the night before, or you have a go-to breakfast, you just eliminate those micro decisions.
Okay, so that mental energy isn't wasted on the mundane stuff.
Precisely. It's preserved.
Okay, so automating the small things saves mental fuel. And this source connects that directly to increasing productivity and efficiency, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. When your brain isn't burning energy on minor decisions and you have a clear sequence of automated actions, you just move through your tasks much more smoothly.
Like a flow state.
Exactly. The text uses that idea, creating flow. Instead of pausing and thinking, okay, what now? The routine just guides you. It helps prevent procrastination, getting sidetracked, that sort of thing.
That seamless movement makes a lot of sense for getting more done. And the source also argues routines help build discipline and consistency. How does that work?
Yeah, this is where the sort of long-term power really shows up. The source argues that just showing up for your routine day in, day out, even when you don't really feel like it, that's like exercising a consistency muscle.
Okay, like building strength.
Right. It builds resilience, strengthens your ability to stick with things over the long haul, which is, let's face it, crucial for any big goal. It's like consistency enables the discipline, rather than needing discipline just to start.
I like that framing. Consistency builds the discipline. Okay. And what about stress? Modern life is chaotic. The source says routines lower stress and anxiety.
Definitely. A lack of structure, of predictability can create this constant, like, low-level hum of anxiety. What am I forgetting? What should I be doing right now? The source emphasizes that a routine provides a sense of order, predictability. Knowing what needs doing and when, it creates this feeling of control, even when other parts of life feel unpredictable. And that naturally helps calm your nervous system.
So, less mental drain, check. More effective work, check. Stronger consistency, check. Less stress. And the source also mentions routines free up mental energy in a slightly different way, too.
Right. It's not just about saving energy from decisions.
No.
Once a task becomes truly routine, like brushing your teeth, it takes almost zero conscious thought.
Yeah, you just do it.
You just do it. And while you're doing it, your mind is free. You can wander, think creatively, maybe process something complex in the background. The text suggests this freed up mental bandwidth is where, real insights or innovative ideas can pop up.
So it's not just about task efficiency, it's about freeing the mind itself.
Exactly. While your body handles the routine task.
That's really compelling. And of course, the source highlights that routines are fundamental for supporting health and well-being.
Oh, absolutely crucial. How often do those really important healthy habits, exercise, getting enough sleep, maybe mindful eating, how often do they just fall by the wayside when life gets busy?
All the time. The first things to go.
Right. The source stresses that by building these into your routines, making them non-negotiable, you ensure they happen consistently, even on crazy days. It's about making self-care automatic, not just optional.
Okay, so when you bundle all these benefits, the source outlines reducing the mental grind, prioritizing health consistently, building discipline. It's arguing you're not just getting more efficient, you're actively designing a better, more intentional life.
Precisely. A better you, essentially. And then the text transitions into where you can apply this structure. It suggests several common areas where routines can make a really significant difference. It's not saying routine everything, but be strategic.
Right, apply it where it counts. They start with the classic morning routine. The source sees this one as, well, pretty critical for setting the tone for the whole day.
Things like a consistent wake-up time, maybe hydrating right away, taking just a few minutes to plan, or even just sit quietly. Small things.
And then there's the bookend, the evening routine. Key for winding down, preparing for good sleep. The text suggests things like, putting screens away a while before bed, maybe reading a physical book for a bit.
Simple, but effective. Then for anyone struggling with focus during the day, the work productivity routine section is really valuable.
Yeah. What kind of things?
The source talks about carving out specific blocks for deep, focused work, no interruptions, and maybe counterintuitively, scheduling specific times to check email rather than letting it constantly interrupt you.
Batching those distractions. Makes sense.
Exactly. And beyond work, self-care routines ensure things like exercise or hobbies don't get squeezed out. They become planned, integrated parts of your week.
And I like that the source specifically included learning routines, that continuous growth aspect.
Yeah, dedicating even just a small, consistent chunk of time, maybe 15 minutes daily for reading an industry article, listening to an educational podcast, reviewing notes ensures you keep moving forward.
So the takeaway here seems to be, you don't need a rigid routine for every minute. Find the friction points in your day, the areas where you feel scattered or neglectful, and apply structure there.
That's the essence of it, strategic structure.
Okay, so we get what they are, according to this source, why they're apparently so beneficial, and the different life areas we could target. Now, the big question, and where this text gives really clear guidance, how do you actually start building them?
Right, the practical bit.
And the emphasis seems to be, make it doable. Start small. Be consistent.
That's probably the most crucial piece of practical advice in the whole text. It strongly advises against trying to overhaul everything at once. That's usually a recipe for failure.
Yeah, been there.
We all have.
Yeah.
Their step-by-step approach starts super simple. Identify one area, just pick one specific part of your life, morning, evening, work, self-care, whatever, where you feel a routine would make the biggest positive difference right now.
Just one. Keep it focused.
Okay.
Then what?
Then the source says, start with one tiny habit. And this is where they use that classic, really powerful example. Choose the absolute smallest, most ridiculously easy habit you can think of that points you in the right direction.
Like the example they give.
Exactly. Drink a glass of water upon waking. It sounds almost too simple, but that's the whole point. Make it impossible not to do.
Tiny is the magic word. Got it. And to make that tiny habit stick.
The next step is crucial. Anchor your new habit. This is sometimes called habit stacking. It's about linking your new tiny habit to something you already do every day without thinking.
Like piggybacking.
Precisely. The source gives the perfect example. After I brush my teeth, that's your existing habit, your anchor, I will drink a glass of water. That's your new tiny habit.
Okay, so you're using an existing trigger. That makes it much harder to forget.
Much harder. And once you've got that tiny anchored habit identified, the absolute most important thing the source insists is just be consistent. Show up every single day. The text really stresses this. The power comes from the repetition, even if it's imperfect some days. That's what wires it into your brain. That's what builds that consistency muscle we talked about earlier.
They also wisely add the advice to be patient and flexible,
Yeah.
which sounds important.
Very. The source acknowledges, look, life happens. You'll miss a day. Your circumstances might change. The key is not to see a missed day as total failure and give up.
Right, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly. Just see it as a temporary blip. Get back on track tomorrow. And be willing to adjust your routine if needed, rather than just abandoning it completely when life shifts.
And finally, they mentioned tracking your progress. Is that essential?
Not strictly essential, the source suggests, but it can be surprisingly motivating for many people. Just a simple check mark on a calendar or a quick note. Seeing that visual streak of consistency can really reinforce the habit.
Okay, this all feels very achievable, which leads directly into the challenge the source puts forward for you, the listener, right now.
Yeah, it's about taking this idea from theory to immediate small-scale action, experiencing it.
The challenge is designed to be completely non-intimidating. Build one mini routine today. Just one tiny thing to feel that sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. Day one success.
So the steps for this challenge, straight from the source's framework. First, choose an area. Morning, evening, work, self-care. Just pick one that feels right for you today.
Next, pick one tiny habit. Again, think really small, something you can genuinely do in 5 or 10 minutes max. The source gives another example here. Read one page of a book before bed.
One page. Okay, super specific, super small. Then anchor it. Link that tiny habit to something you know you'll do today.
Right. So for the reading example, maybe it's after I turn off the TV for the night, I will read one page, connect it to an existing action.
And the final crucial step for the challenge today. Practice today. Just do it. Implement that single, tiny, anchored habit in the area you chose.
Just once.
Okay.
Today.
And after you do it, the source encourages a moment of reflection. Ask yourself a few simple questions. How did it actually feel to consciously do that small action?
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice any immediate benefit, even just a subtle feeling of like, hey, I did the thing?
And crucially, how can you make sure you do this again tomorrow? Start thinking about that repetition.
Right. Those reflection points help turn the action into learning, setting you up for tomorrow.
Exactly. It cements it a little bit.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, the core message from this source about routines seems really clear and honestly quite empowering. It's not about rigid cages.
Not at all. It's about creating deliberate, helpful structure in the parts of your life where you need it most. Automating those good habits so they take less effort, less willpower.
And by doing that, the source argues, you free yourself up. Less stress, more focus, stronger discipline.
And importantly, you free up significant mental energy and time. That bandwidth we talked about.
Which brings us right back to that really compelling final thought implied by the source. If automating the small, consistent things, the stuff you know is good for you, gives you back real time and precious mental space.
What could you finally do with all that freed up capacity? What becomes possible then?